On a rainy night, a car arrives outside the towering Sunrise Group headquarters. As the two men leave the building, Brother Shen asks Chiang-kai how long he has worked with him. Chiang-kai checks the time and reminds him that it has already been 3 years. Pleased by his loyalty, Brother Shen promises that closing this deal will earn Chiang-kai a promotion and a recommendation to senior management. Chiang-kai smiles and thanks Brother Shen for giving him this valuable opportunity. Noticing Chiang-kai repeatedly checking the time, Brother Shen asks if some emergency is troubling him. Chiang-kai calmly explains that nothing is wrong and that their ride has arrived. Right on cue, a sleek white car pulls up beside them in the pouring rain. The two men stand before the waiting car in the heavy rain. Brother Shen suddenly senses something strange and freezes in surprise. Before he can react, Chiang-kai forcefully shoves him toward the vehicle. At that exact moment, the driver violently slams down on the accelerator. The speeding car strikes Brother Shen, sending him crashing onto the rain-soaked road. As his strength fades, Brother Shen cannot believe that his longtime subordinate has betrayed him. Blood covers Brother Shen's face as he groans in agony beneath the pouring rain. Chiang-kai coldly approaches, revealing that he betrayed Brother Shen simply to steal his position. Chiang-kai reveals a sinister smile, showing the cruel ambition that has turned him into a demon. 1 year later, the story shifts to a modest apartment building elsewhere in the city. Brother Shen survives but now lives in a wheelchair, spending his days inside a virtual reality game. Frustrated by his slow progress, he complains that the game provides no useful resources without spending money. Growing angry, Brother Shen suddenly pushes himself out of the wheelchair. His weakened legs give way, causing him to lose his balance. He crashes onto the floor, knocking over everything around him. The impact sends a framed mirror falling, and it shatters beside him. After Shen became paralyzed, Chiang-kai stole his position, expelled him from Sunrise Group, and forced Shen's sister into marriage by exploiting his medical bills. Burning with rage, Shen curses Xiao Chiang-kai and swears that he will kill him one day. The following morning, sunlight shines over the towering Sunrise Group headquarters. Back at home, Shen suddenly charges through the doorway in his wheelchair. Shen enters Chiang-kai's office, where his former subordinate greets him with open mockery. Wearing a smug smile, Chiang-kai asks why Shen has come to see him. Ignoring his taunts, Shen firmly demands to see his younger sister. Chiang-kai laughs and reveals that he locked her away for resisting him, declaring that nobody can visit her without his permission. Furious over his sister's abuse, Shen warns Chiang-kai that his cruelty has brought him closer to death. Chiang-kai dismisses the threat, reminding Shen that he is no longer his superior. He cruelly mocks Shen's disability and claims that a worthless cripple has no right to challenge him. Having heard enough, Shen pulls out a grenade and declares that Chiang-kai can die alongside the man he considers trash. Chiang-kai recoils in terror after realizing that Shen is holding a live grenade. Without hesitation, Shen pulls the pin and releases the explosive. A massive explosion tears through the office, engulfing everything in flames. Amid the smoke and rubble, a badly wounded Shen coughs and struggles to remain conscious. Chiang-kai emerges from the smoke unharmed, protected by powerful armor summoned from the game. He mocks Shen for not realizing that abilities gained in Divine Path can also be brought into the real world. Standing over the wounded Shen, Chiang-kai arrogantly declares that someone as powerful as him would never remain a mere subordinate. Chiang-kai then reveals his final secret. He was the one who arranged the car attack that left Shen paralyzed. With his final strength, Shen furiously swears that Chiang-kai will never escape punishment. But before he can take revenge, his vision fades as blood spreads around him. Moments later, Shen's eyes slowly open beneath an unfamiliar ceiling. He suddenly jolts awake in a hospital bed, completely shocked to find himself alive. Looking around in disbelief, Shen realizes that he did not die and may have been reborn. Overjoyed, he believes heaven has granted him a precious chance to start his life again. Shen quickly throws aside the blanket and carefully tests his bandaged legs. To his complete shock, Shen discovers that his legs can move again. Shen checks the hospital clock and sees that the date is March 18, 2699. He realizes he has returned exactly 1 year into the past, but it is already a month after the car accident. His relief disappears as he curses heaven for sending him back too late, leaving him trapped inside the same crippled body. Just then, Shen's younger sister rushes into the hospital room and calls out to him. Overwhelmed with relief, Xiaodong embraces her brother and admits that she was terrified he might never wake up. Shen gently comforts Xiaodong, grateful beyond words to see his beloved sister alive again. Confused by his emotion, Xiaodong promises that she will care for Shen for the rest of his life. Remembering how Tiankai once tormented his sister, Shen forces himself to stay calm and begins planning how to protect her. Shen calms himself, realizing that there is still enough time to change the tragic future. At that moment, Tiankai enters with gifts and pretends to be delighted that Shen has awakened. Wearing a false smile, Tiankai apologizes for failing to protect Shen from the so-called accident. Seeing through the act, Shen silently vows to expose Tiankai as the murderer responsible for his injuries. Tiankai claims that Shen should rest while he manages the company, adding that the driver responsible has already been caught. Without evidence, Shen decides not to confront him yet, knowing Tiankai could exploit his condition and attempt to kill him again. Forced to remain cautious, Shen silently wonders what his next move should be. Tiankai then tells Xiaodong that her brother needs rest and awkwardly asks her to leave the room with him. As Tiankai prepares to leave, Shen suddenly notices something important outside the window. A massive advertisement for the virtual reality game Divine Path immediately catches his attention. Shen remembers Tiankai's future revelation that powers earned inside Divine Path can be brought into reality. Meanwhile, Tiankai grabs Xiaodong's hand and urges her to leave so Shen can rest. Shen immediately turns furious and orders Tiankai to take his hands off Xiaodong. Tiankai freezes at the sudden warning, while Xiaodong looks at her brother in surprise. Shen calmly asks to speak with Xiaodong alone and pretends to entrust all company affairs to his most reliable subordinate. Hiding his discomfort, Tiankai agrees to leave and assures Shen that he remains available whenever needed. Shen watches him carefully, knowing that Tiankai's loyal behavior is nothing more than an act. Tiankai quietly exits the hospital room and closes the door behind him. Once outside, his false smile disappears as he angrily wonders why Shen survived the crash. Left alone with her brother, Xiaodong notices his troubled expression and asks what is wrong. Shen gives Xiaodong all his savings and asks her to purchase a gaming pod immediately. His target is Divine Path, the virtual reality game whose power can alter the real world. Xiaodong is confused because Shen once believed that gaming addiction could destroy a person's ambition. But Shen now understands Divine Path's true potential and vows to use it to rewrite his destiny. The scene shifts to the general manager's office at Sunrise Group. Tiankai relaxes confidently behind the desk, already behaving as though the company belongs to him. His subordinate reports that Shen spent all his savings on a gaming pod and has stopped interfering in company affairs. Pleased by the news, Tiankai decides to let Shen waste time gaming while he quietly steals his position. Looking at Shen's family photo, Tiankai decides to support his miserable life only as long as he never attempts a comeback. He orders his subordinate to satisfy Shen's gaming requests while immediately reporting every change in his condition. The subordinate accepts the command and respectfully addresses Tiankai as deputy manager. Tiankai's expression darkens as he reminds the man that it is time to address him by his new position. Nervous and sweating, the subordinate quickly corrects himself and addresses Tiankai as general manager. Meanwhile, the story returns to the hospital where Shen continues his recovery. The rare Divine Path gaming pod is delivered directly to Shen's hospital room. On the game's official launch day, Shen knows only 100 pods exist worldwide, but believes sacrificing his entire fortune is worth it. Shen still cannot understand how game abilities enter reality, but he knows this hidden secret gives him a powerful advantage. As Divine Path's closed beta begins, Shen prepares to use his knowledge of the future to its fullest. He enters the gaming pod, grips the virtual headset, and focuses his thoughts on Xiao Tiankai. Shen puts on the headset and silently warns his enemy to wait for the revenge that is coming. Shen's consciousness passes through a stream of glowing data as the virtual world begins loading. Moments later, he opens his eyes inside the digital realm for the first time. The system welcomes Shen to Divine Path and invites him to begin his journey into the unknown. Standing freely in his new avatar, Shen realizes the game can overcome his disability and joyfully experiences movement again. The system prompts Shen to create his new player identity. He chooses the same name he used in his previous life, Zhao Jiu Wanji. The system accepts the name and officially confirms his player identity. Shen is then presented with several powerful professions and asked to choose his starting class. Knowing time is precious, Shen decides to strengthen his stats and abilities before the day his enemy makes another move. He selects the ranger profession, the class he understood best during his previous life. A surge of blue energy surrounds Shen as the system begins changing his profession. The transformation finishes, equipping Shen with the armor and abilities of a newly awakened ranger. Because Shen owns a premium gaming pod, the system rewards him with the hidden Shadow Ranger profession and the epic Knight Clan bloodline. Shen realizes why the pods were so valuable, as his new bloodline boosts accuracy, critical hits, evasion, and movement speed at night. Although these bonuses only activate after dark, Shen knows they will double his grinding efficiency and quickly separate him from other players. The system next presents Shen with several treasure chests and asks him to select a novice gift pack. Shen refuses the tempting premium chests because unlocking them requires an absurd amount of money. In his previous life, poverty forced him to begin with nothing but weak, low-quality equipment. After Chankai stole his wealth, Shen could not afford proper gear and quickly fell far behind ordinary players. Determined to change everything, Shen mortgages his house and all company shares to unlock the golden chest. As the system evaluates his property, Shen accepts that there can be no turning back. The assessment succeeds, placing all his assets under mortgage and finally unlocking the golden chest. With the payment complete, Shen enters the lottery phase and prepares to gamble his entire future. The glowing lottery wheel begins spinning rapidly before Shen. Shen watches nervously, knowing that everything now depends on this single result. The pointer finally stops on a mysterious golden symbol. A brilliant pillar of light erupts as Shen's unknown reward begins to appear. Golden energy surges around Shen as the system congratulates him for obtaining the divine grade ability called evolution. Stunned by his incredible luck, Shen realizes that he has received one of the game's most powerful talents. Evolution automatically improves monster drops by 1 grade, with a small chance of raising them twice and even surpassing the game's normal limits. Its active power can upgrade equipment, skills, and gems even further, but each target can evolve only once before the ability enters cooldown. Shen realizes that while others struggle for bronze and silver gear, evolution will give him silver, gold, or even stronger equipment. Confident in his overwhelming advantage, he vows to discover how to bring these powers into reality as quickly as possible. The system finishes the setup and announces that Shen is finally entering the game. A radiant portal opens, pulling Shen away from the selection area and into Divine Path's vast world. Shen arrives in a crowded beginner village filled with newly spawned players. He realizes most players are using basic virtual reality headsets, just as he did during his previous life. While studying the crowd, Shen suddenly notices a commotion nearby. A group of armed beginners races through the village while chasing a small golden bird. One excited player announces that killing chickens rewards experience points and valuable meat. Hearing this, several other beginners eagerly join the hunt without hesitation. Shen remains unimpressed, realizing these players are easily distracted by such insignificant rewards. He turns away from the chaotic chase and leaves the beginners to fight over the fleeing chicken. Ignoring the players arguing over chickens, Shen continues toward his real objective. He soon reaches the dangerous forest located beyond the beginner town. Shen plans to level up quickly and secure the bonus reward for achieving the server's first boss kill. Before entering, he opens his inventory and checks his basic novice bow and cloth armor. Shen quickly realizes that his novice bow and cloth armor are too worthless to justify evolving. Since evolution can be activated only once each day, he refuses to waste it on equipment with no real potential. Shen carefully studies his belongings, searching for something valuable enough to receive the upgrade. His attention finally settles on his ranger equipment, and he decides to test evolution on it. Shen selects his epic Knight Clan bloodline as the target of evolution. Dark energy immediately spreads across his body as the ability activates. A towering shadowy figure forms behind Shen while the bloodline begins transforming. The mysterious entity opens its glowing eyes, signaling that the evolution has succeeded. Blue flames erupt from the Shadow Warrior as its armor begins changing. The old bloodline shatters apart and rebuilds itself with far greater power. The system confirms that Shen's Knight Clan bloodline has evolved successfully. The transformation reveals the superior Night King bloodline, surrounding Shen with an overwhelming dark aura. The Night King bloodline greatly boosts Shen's combat speed, accuracy, evasion, and health, while guaranteeing a critical hit on every third attack. After granting these new powers, the enormous shadow figure dissolves into blue energy. Shen lowers his hand in amazement, thrilled that evolution truly succeeded. His updated status reveals enormous improvements, including 1200 health and major increases to speed, evasion, and critical power. Amazed that bloodlines can evolve, Shen becomes confident that his enhanced stats can easily handle beginner monsters alone. He enters the Wild Wolf Zone, knowing his bonuses will double at night and give him a chance against any boss. Shen moves cautiously through the dark forest while searching for his first target. After hearing something nearby, he suddenly stops and turns toward the sound. Nearby, a group of beginners surrounds a wounded wolf and attacks together. Shen admits that teaming up is safer for beginners, but it also divides their experience and reduces individual rewards. Confident that the wolf is trapped, the group's leader boasts that killing it will earn them another level. Watching from behind a tree, Shen quietly dismisses the overconfident players as fools. Shen knows the hunters have made a fatal mistake because wolves never travel alone. Unaware of the danger, one player confidently orders everyone to launch a final attack. The wounded wolf suddenly raises its head and releases a powerful howl. In response, several pairs of glowing red eyes appear throughout the surrounding bushes. More glowing eyes emerge as the hidden wolf pack closes in. The beginners finally realize they are completely surrounded by hungry wolves. Panic spreads through the group as one player questions why so many monsters have appeared. Before anyone can respond, a wolf lunges forward and violently tackles one of the players. The wolf pins the helpless player down and tears into him. An archer leaps backward and desperately fires several arrows at the advancing pack. Terrified by the attack, the hooded player panics and warns the wolves to stay away. The arrows strike the charging wolves, but the pack continues its relentless assault. One warrior desperately fights back, shocked that the game's pain feels real despite players being unable to truly die. As two wolves charge the female mage, she panics and begs the group's leader to save her. Completely overwhelmed, the leader accepts defeat and expects to meet everyone back at the respawn point. Seeing the perfect opportunity, Shen finally steps forward and prepares to attack. Shen summons his glowing bow and gathers powerful blue energy into a single arrow. Smiling confidently, he uses the distracted hunters as bait and prepares to claim the reward from behind. Shen releases the charged arrow, sending it tearing through the forest at incredible speed. The shot pierces a level 3 wild wolf and kills it instantly. The kill raises Shen to level 2, granting extra health along with increased attack, magic, and defense. Evolution upgrades the dropped meat into an advanced recovery item, giving Shen a reliable source of continuous healing. With his preparations complete, Shen charges directly toward the remaining wolf pack. Having already confirmed his damage, Shen decides to use the approaching wolves to test his other enhanced stats. A wolf lunges at Shen, but he effortlessly dodges its attack. Confident in his new power, Shen challenges the pack to test its speed against him. He bursts forward at incredible speed while the wolves race after him. Despite being only level 2, Shen easily outruns the wolves and knows his speed would become even greater at night. Trusting his enhanced evasion, Shen decides to challenge the area boss for the massive experience gained from defeating stronger enemies. He accelerates deeper into the forest while the wolves struggle to keep up. The pursuing pack suddenly stops, unwilling to follow Shen any farther. Shen continues toward the boss territory as a strange blue light streaks across the sky. Shen realizes he has entered the higher level bison zone, where the monsters are approximately level 5. A friendly female archer notices Shen and approaches him with a greeting. She introduces her level 4 teammates and invites Shen to join their party. Claiming they were the first players to reach the area, she asks Shen to help them hunt the nearby bison. The mage refuses to accept Shen, arguing that a level 2 player would only steal experience and slow the team down. Unbothered by the insult, Shen tells them to continue farming while he heads toward the next area. The warrior angrily questions Shen's sanity for attempting something so reckless. Shen explains that hunting bison is inefficient and calmly declares that he prefers leveling alone. The warrior warns Shen that the unexplored zone below is extremely dangerous and that nobody knows the full penalty for dying. He explains that death costs gold, damages equipment, and removes half of the player's accumulated experience. Shen simply thanks him for the warning and continues without showing any fear. Annoyed by Shen's confidence, the mage tells his companions to let the reckless fool die. Shen says goodbye and walks away while the female archer tries to stop him. Ignoring her call, he continues alone toward the unexplored region. Shen reaches the deadly venomous snake zone, a rocky canyon scattered with bones. Standing before the dangerous entrance, Shen calmly announces his arrival. Following his memories from the previous timeline, Shen locates the hidden boss inside the rocky canyon. The enormous snake once tormented him for a long time, and he could not defeat it until reaching level 15. Fortunately, Shen still remembers that the monster's weak point lies on the back of its neck. The enemy is revealed as a level 10 spotted python with 800 health. Shen's health has reached 1310, making the level 2 ranger tougher than the boss itself. The spotted python opens its jaws and launches a deadly attack. Shen recognizes the same attack pattern from his previous life and reads every movement in advance. Using his superior speed, Shen easily evades the strike and declares that the snake cannot touch him. Shen counters with a rapid barrage of glowing arrows aimed directly at the python. Each arrow lands successfully, but the attack deals only 26 damage. Shen realizes the Night King bloodline improves nearly every attribute except his attack power, creating an unexpected weakness. Before he can adjust, the python swings its massive tail and forces him back against the canyon wall. Shen dodges the sweeping tail and decides to slowly wear the python down from a safe distance. He fires another glowing arrow, forcing the monster to defend itself. Shen kicks off the canyon wall and rapidly changes his position. From above, he releases a precise shot that strikes the python directly in the head. Shen tests the Night King's attack speed bonus, challenging whether his arrow or the python's tail will move faster. To his surprise, the python reacts in time and blocks the incoming shot with its tail. The monster immediately counters by firing a concentrated blast of green venom. Shen avoids the poisonous beam, but the python's enormous body quickly coils around him. Shen realizes too late that the python has activated its poison gas skill. The toxic cloud surrounds him, inflicting poison that continuously drains his health. Shen retreats as the poison repeatedly removes 10 health points at a time. Calculating that he has only 2.5 minutes left, Shen knows an ordinary player would already be terrified. The poison keeps draining Shen's health while the python watches from inside the toxic cloud. Shen activates Arrow of Life, guaranteeing a critical hit on every third attack. Blue energy gathers around his bow before he launches the empowered arrow. The critical shot strikes the python's head, catching the monster completely off guard. The empowered attack splits into multiple streaks of light and converges on the python. Striking its weak point, the shot inflicts a massive 116 damage. With the monster visibly struggling, Shen confidently claims it cannot survive many more attacks. By combining Arrow of Life with the python's weak point, Shen creates a double critical hit and decides 2 minutes will be enough. Enraged by the damage, the python slams its massive tail toward Shen. Shen dodges the strike and fires several arrows into the exposed tail. He realizes the wounded monster is trying to escape without giving him another chance to attack. Exhausted and badly injured, the python pauses to catch its breath. Shen unleashes another volley, surprising the python with attacks from above. A critical strike pierces its body for 150 damage, reducing the boss to 447 health. Shen realizes the soft abdomen takes more damage, while the neck's weak point remains protected by thick scales. After confirming the better target, Shen lands and prepares his next assault. The ground suddenly cracks beneath Shen's feet as the python launches another hidden attack. The canyon floor collapses, dropping Shen into a deep pit filled with falling debris. Shen realizes the python can shatter rocks with its tail and create cave-ins, proving why it is the strongest beginner boss. Trapped below with 800 health remaining, Shen continues losing health while the python watches from above. The python releases another wave of poison into the pit. The poison stacks, doubling Shen's health loss to 20 points per second and reducing him to 600 health. Even under pressure, Shen remains focused on the valuable equipment this powerful boss might drop. To survive the increased damage, he opens his inventory and takes out the advanced wolf meat. Shen immediately uses the advanced wolf meat from his inventory. The food restores 20 health each second and increases his speed by 10% for 20 seconds. Although it cannot remove the poison, its healing completely offsets the health loss and lets Shen launch himself upward. Using the temporary speed boost, Shen races up the canyon wall while the python watches in surprise. Knowing the poison will continue, Shen decides his only cure is to finish the python immediately. He launches another powerful shot, dealing 50 more damage to the boss. Realizing it is losing, the wounded python desperately tries to escape. Shen smiles confidently and tells the fleeing monster that it is already too late. Shen unleashes another rapid volley at the fleeing python. 2 arrows strike its neck, each dealing 58 damage and breaking through the protective scales. With the weak point finally exposed, Shen charges one last attack and bids the boss farewell. The finishing shot pierces the python for 300 damage, bringing the battle to an end. The spotted python collapses, and Shen's poison status disappears the moment the boss dies. The system confirms the server's first boss kill, places Shen on the leaderboard, and offers to hide his name from the global announcement. Shen briefly considers remaining anonymous, but remembers that he has endured humiliation for far too long. He refuses to hide his identity, determined to make every player remember and fear his name. A golden announcement identifies Zhao Jiu Wanji as the first player to defeat the giant Snake King. The special message appears across the entire beginner village, drawing every player's attention. Even the beginners hunting chickens freeze in disbelief after learning that a novice zone boss has already been killed. The crowd questions how anyone achieved this so quickly, while one woman excitedly wonders whether the mysterious player is handsome. Back in the Bison Zone, the 3-player team finally brings down its target. The warrior proudly celebrates, believing their group has successfully defeated a powerful boss. The mage assumes nobody could have progressed faster and eagerly wonders what reward they will receive. The female archer offers an awkward congratulations, clearly less confident about their achievement. The warrior boasts that staying with his group will bring the archer wealth and fame. At that moment, the global announcement reveals that Zhao Jiu Wanji has slain the giant Snake King. The female archer stares at the message in disbelief, unable to understand how anyone progressed so quickly. The warrior is equally stunned that a solo player has already surpassed their entire team. The confused mage wonders who Zhao Jiu Wanji really is. Defeating a much stronger boss grants Shen bonus experience, raises him to level 7, and rewards reputation points plus a silver chest. A massive pile of gold, weapons, and treasure appears where the giant Snake King died. Shen celebrates gaining 5 levels at once, satisfied that the enormous risk produced an equally incredible reward. Shen's body surges with energy as his ranger level rises to 7. Among the rewards, he discovers rare crystal coins that can purchase special NPC items or greatly increase an NPC's favorability. Shen immediately recognizes the mysterious blue crystals as crystal coins. He remembers hearing about them in his previous life and eagerly collects them, certain they will become extremely valuable later. Shen turns his attention to the remaining treasure and equipment dropped by the boss. He activates his inventory and begins collecting every valuable item. Gold, weapons, and the treasure chest are pulled into storage by glowing blue energy. Among the loot is the silver-grade silver snake sword, which boosts strength and agility while adding poison to its attacks. Since the silver snake is not a bow, Shen cannot use it, but he knows selling it will bring a large profit. He also receives silver-grade green-scale armor with added defense, health, and a 300-point battle shield. Shen remembers that the ordinary version only increased basic stats and never possessed a special ability. Impressed by the powerful shield effect, he decides to keep the armor until he reaches level 10. Shen feels disappointed because none of the drops suit a Shadow Ranger, while the useful general equipment requires higher levels. He complains that defeating the beginner boss provided no immediate improvement and feels almost like a scam. Shen suddenly remembers the silver treasure chest awarded for securing the server's first boss kill. He summons the glowing chest from his inventory and prepares to open it. Shen opens the chest while hoping it contains something designed for his class. A brilliant beam erupts as the reward begins to reveal itself. Shen receives a glowing set of 7 connected arrows. The silver-grade 7-star linked arrows fire 7 consecutive shots, each dealing true damage based on the target's maximum health. Shen realizes the 7-star linked arrows are an active skill designed specifically for archers. Since the skill requires level 10, Shen decides to level up quickly, knowing its power will transform once he reaches the requirement. Suddenly, a desperate cry for help echoes from deeper inside the dark cave. Shen immediately races toward the voice, leaping swiftly across the rocky ground. Shen arrives and finds several venomous snakes surrounding a trapped woman. Madame Gu warns him to stay back as the snakes close in around her. Shen recognizes her as an ordinary city NPC and wonders why she has appeared inside this dangerous cave. He recalls a forgotten forum guide about a hidden quest involving Madame Gu and the search for her missing daughter. Shen remembers players mocking the guide as complete nonsense, making the hidden quest easy to overlook. Madame Gu begs him to help her escape before the giant snake returns. Believing the forgotten guide may be true, Shen reveals that he already killed the giant snake and tells her it is safe. With her foot injured, Madame Gu asks Shen to carry her out of the cave. Shen approaches Madame Gu while the remaining snakes retreat along the cave walls. He gently lifts the injured woman into his arms. Carrying Madame Gu securely, Shen leaps toward the cave exit. After reaching safety, Shen sets her down among the rocks outside. Grateful for being rescued, Madame Gu thanks Shen and her favorability toward him rises by 10 points. She offers him 2 silver coins as a reward for saving her life. Shen knows 2 silver coins are an enormous fortune this early in the game, but he calmly hides his excitement. However, remembering the hidden quest guide, Shen realizes he must refuse Madame Gu's reward. Shen gently refuses the silver coins, claiming that helping others is reward enough. Impressed by his kindness, Madame Gu praises him as her favorability rises by another 10 points. Trusting Shen completely, Madame Gu asks if he can help her with one more favor. Shen eagerly agrees and promises to help with whatever she needs. Madame Gu reveals that her daughter has disappeared and asks Shen to find her. The system confirms that Shen has unlocked the hidden quest to locate Madame Gu's missing daughter. Shen is stunned to discover that the forgotten hidden quest was genuine after all. He confidently accepts the mission and promises Madame Gu that he will bring her daughter back. Madame Gu explains that while traveling to town, her daughter followed an elf and vanished before she could stop her. Hoping to find her, Madame Gu searched the Snake Valley cave, but her daughter was nowhere inside. Shen asks whether she has any other clues that could help narrow down the search. He recalls a hidden region south of Snake Valley, but without exact coordinates, locating its concealed entrance will be extremely difficult. Shen recalls that elf rabbits appear in fixed locations and remembers the Novice Zone map from his past life. Since elf rabbits inhabit 3 areas, the map confirms that Demon Spider Cave south of Snake Valley is his destination. After solving the mystery, Shen enthusiastically declares that he will leave immediately, surprising Madame Gu. Without wasting another second, Shen dashes away at tremendous speed while Madame Gu watches in shock. Madame Gu calls after Shen, reminding him that he has never seen her daughter and should first memorize her portrait. Already sprinting away, Shen confidently insists that he will never forget what the troublesome girl looks like. He remembers that every mission involving Madame Gu and her daughter ended with the girl making mocking faces at him. In his memory, the mischievous young woman teases him for taking so long to leave the novice village. Following his memory of the map, Shen heads deep into the forest toward the Demon Spider Cave. Shen remembers that reaching the cave requires finding a corrupted village hidden somewhere within the woods. He races through the dense forest, passing birds and rabbits as he searches for the village. Before long, Shen emerges from the trees and discovers a ruined village beneath the evening sky. Shen enters the devastated village, where collapsed houses and piles of rubble cover the streets. After examining the ruins, Shen confirms that he has finally reached the correct location. As he moves deeper into the village, a mysterious red-eyed figure secretly watches him from a rooftop. Unaware of the observer, Shen approaches a dark stone well standing among the ruins. Shen peers into the web-covered well, remembering that the Demon Spider Cave should be hidden beneath it. Suddenly, a red-eyed, corrupted villager raises a weapon behind Shen and prepares to strike. The attacker lunges, but Shen calmly senses the ambush and dodges at the final moment. The villager misses completely and crashes hard into the ground beside him. The corrupted villager recovers from the fall and charges at Shen again. Shen fires an arrow straight through the attacker's chest, splattering green blood. As the first enemy collapses, another corrupted villager leaps down from above. Shen reacts instantly and shoots an arrow directly through the airborne attacker's head. The second corrupted villager crashes lifelessly into the ruined street. Shen remembers every enemy position from his previous runs, allowing him to avoid their ambush. The fallen villager's corpse reveals spider eggs and parasites crawling beneath its skin. Shen realizes demon spiders infected these people with eggs and dragged most of the villagers away as food. If ignored, their numbers will only keep growing. Shen crushes another spider beneath his armored boot. After clearing the enemies, Shen reaches level 8 as his health, attack, magic, defense, and speed all increase. Remembering a level 12 demon spider boss nearby, Shen decides to wait until nightfall before hunting it. 2 hours later, darkness finally settles beneath the full moon. Nightfall activates Shen King's Night King bloodline, greatly boosting his accuracy, attack speed, critical rate, movement speed, and night vision. With his nighttime power fully awakened, Shen King confidently begins his hunt. He races through the dark, web-covered cave at incredible speed. Shen King lands inside the cave and prepares to face the waiting demon spiders. Shen King relies on his enhanced night vision to navigate the dark, spider-covered cave without needing another light source. He passes the web-covered remains of dead villagers, their bodies crawling with small spiders. The disturbing sight makes Shen King deeply uncomfortable, just as it did in his previous life. Suddenly, several enormous purple spiders descend from the webs and block his path. Unable to kill the spiders individually, Shen King fires several arrows at once. The arrows streak through the cave and pin all 3 giant spiders to the wall. Each arrow pierces a spider's leg, trapping the creatures without killing them. With a confident smile, Shen King warns the immobilized spiders not to struggle carelessly. A warning appears as Shen King continues deeper into the web-covered cave. Despite knowing the danger, Shen King advances confidently because greater risks often bring greater rewards. He enters a dark chamber filled with countless glowing purple spider eggs. Suddenly, a desperate voice calls out for Shen King to hurry and save them. Shen King discovers Madame Gu's missing daughter completely trapped inside a massive spiderweb. He recognizes the frightened girl and teasingly points out her miserable condition. Bursting into tears, the girl desperately asks if her big brother has come to rescue her. Shen refuses to promise anything, warning that he will abandon her if she remains arrogant after being freed. Terrified of becoming spider food, the trapped girl desperately begs Shen King to rescue her. Shen King coldly asks whether she still intends to speak to him so disrespectfully. Crying loudly, she immediately changes her attitude and promises to obey her good brother if he saves her. Shen King is amused by her sudden politeness and wonders if this is truly their first meeting. With their deal settled, Shen King raises his bow and prepares to free the trapped girl. Before he can act, an ominous figure with glowing red eyes emerges from the darkness behind her. The Demon Spider Queen reveals herself as a level 15 special quest boss with 1300 health and unknown abilities. Shen King realizes this boss is stronger than he remembers, likely because accepting the hidden quest triggered a special encounter. Shen King welcomes the challenge, determined to prove he is far stronger than the rookie she mocked. The Spider Queen instantly fires a deadly purple beam through the web-filled chamber. The captive girl panics over his low level and desperately urges him to escape before fighting such a powerful boss. Ignoring her attitude, Shen King uses his Night King speed bonus to evade the attack despite the massive level gap. The Spider Queen's purple projectile pierces through a massive boulder with frightening force. She immediately lashes out again, controlling a long strand of web like a deadly whip. The web suddenly lifts the enormous boulder and hurls it directly toward Shen King. Calling the attack too slow, Shen King leaps aside as the boulder crashes beneath him. Shen King launches himself upward and fires an arrow straight at the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen reacts instantly, raising one of her bladed arms to intercept the shot. With perfect timing, she catches the speeding arrow between her claws without taking any damage. Shen King stares in disbelief, wondering how the boss could stop his attack so easily. The Spider Queen begins producing a powerful web attack as energy gathers around her. The captive girl urgently warns Shen King to cover his ears before the attack begins. Shen King quickly shields his ears, bracing himself against the overwhelming sound. A deafening shriek erupts through the cave, forcing Shen King backward amid the vibrating webs. The shriek strikes Shen King for heavy damage and sends him sliding backward across the cave. He discovers that the attack has paralyzed him, cut his speed in half, and blinded him for 17 seconds. Shen King realizes the hidden boss possesses a far more outrageous ability than he expected. Madame Gu's daughter urgently warns him that the danger remains and tells him to watch beneath his feet. Countless spider eggs crack open, releasing a swarm of tiny purple spiders. Still weakened by the boss's effects, Shen King braces himself as the spiders surround him. He forcefully kicks the nearest spiders away, refusing to let the swarm overwhelm him. However, even more spiders rush forward in a relentless wave. Shen King realizes the spider swarm is far larger than he expected. The tiny spiders quickly crawl across his armor, cloak, and legs. Several spiders begin biting his face, leaving him unable to ignore their relentless attacks. Covered in spiders, Shen King struggles to concentrate and desperately searches for a chance to counterattack. Shen King violently shakes the spiders from his body and regains his footing. The Spider Queen gathers its silk into a glowing purple spear. It launches the deadly spear straight toward Shen King. Shen King narrowly dodges as the spear crashes into the ground beside him. With the paralysis and blindness gone, Shen King decides to eliminate the Spider Queen before saving the girl. Still trapped in silk, the terrified girl begs him to find a stronger warrior before he ends up captured too. Shen King races through the web chamber, realizing the Spider Queen can catch his arrows and is nearly impossible to hit directly. As purple spears rain down around him, Shen King skillfully dodges every strike. Shen King grabs a strand of web as the Spider Queen immediately closes in to attack. The Spider Queen slashes at close range, forcing Shen King to defend himself. Shen King realizes the monster always attacks whenever he gets close, giving him the perfect opening for his plan. He suddenly lets the web wrap around his ankle, leaving himself hanging upside down. The captive girl realizes Shen King tied his own feet, wondering if he plans to endure the Spider Queen's attack directly. The Spider Queen sees her chance and launches another powerful attack at the hanging Shen King. The strike hits Shen King for 140 damage, but his massive health pool still leaves him with 1,650 points. After surviving the blow, Shen King tears through the surrounding webs and declares that it is finally his turn to attack. The captive girl is stunned to learn that Shen King still has nearly 2,000 health and remains completely unharmed. Breaking free from the webs, Shen King launches himself downward with his weapon aimed directly at the Spider Queen. However, the Spider Queen calmly catches his incoming weapon with one hand, stopping the attack instantly. Certain she has outsmarted him, the Spider Queen begins laughing triumphantly. The captive girl panics, believing Shen King has wasted his attack on a useless target. His glowing arrow suddenly curves around the Spider Queen, revealing that its original path was only a distraction. The projectile strikes the Spider Queen from behind, reducing her remaining health to just over 1,000. The girl finally understands that Shen King expected his first arrow to be caught and secretly aimed the second one at the Queen's vulnerable rear. Shen King calmly prepares another arrow, showing complete confidence against the powerful boss. Watching him fight, the captive girl finally believes he might truly defeat the Spider Queen. Shen King takes aim as the Spider Queen charges toward him through the dense webbing. He launches himself upward and rains several glowing arrows down upon the approaching Spider Queen. Shen King's glowing arrows ricochet rapidly across the tangled webs, repeatedly closing in on the Spider Queen. The captive girl warns him that the webs release sticky slime, which will trap him if he remains there too long. Ignoring her warning, Shen King calmly prepares his next move with an arrow resting against his shoulder. His arrows continue bouncing through the web-filled chamber, attacking the Spider Queen from several directions at once. The captive girl angrily warns Shen King that ignoring her advice will bring painful consequences. As glowing strands spread across his body, Shen King insists he only needs a little more time to finish his plan. Shen King suddenly becomes trapped in the sticky purple webbing, forcing him down onto one knee. Seeing him immobilized, the disappointed girl says she was foolish to place any faith in him. The Spider Queen towers over Shen King as glowing purple webs tighten around his trapped body. Confident in her victory, the Spider Queen stares down at her immobilized opponent. She forms a sharp purple spear from condensed webbing and prepares to deliver the final blow. However, Shen King remains strangely calm, smirking as the glowing strands cover his face. Shen King's arrows ricochet across the cave, slicing through the surrounding webs. Both the captive woman and the Spider Queen stare in shock as his hidden strategy unfolds. With her supporting webs severed, the massive Spider Queen suddenly plummets toward Shen King. The woman realizes Shen King used his arrowheads to cut every connection between the webs and the cave walls. As the Spider Queen falls, the captive woman desperately calls for Shen King's help. Shen King catches the woman in his arms and pulls her safely away. Blushing in his embrace, she admits that his clever plan surprised her. Meanwhile, the Spider Queen crashes violently into the tangled webs below. Shen King lands safely, though the woman hits the ground painfully beside him. Furious at his rough rescue, the woman angrily scolds him for treating her so carelessly. Shen King immediately silences her, warning that the battle is not finished yet. Sure enough, the Spider Queen rises again as spiraling purple energy gathers around her. Hearing the eerie singing, Shen King suspects the Spider Queen is preparing another sonic attack. The frightened woman hides behind Shen King, bracing for whatever comes next. Purple energy coils around the Spider Queen as countless small spiders swarm beneath her. Shen King shields the woman while a massive wave of spiders closes in around them. With Madame Gu's daughter rescued, Shen King decides the Spider Queen is still too strong and orders a retreat. He pulls the woman through the web-covered cave as countless small spiders chase them. Suddenly, a glowing red barrier forms around Shen King, stopping him in his tracks. The barrier violently throws him backward, leaving the woman shocked as he crashes onto the webbed floor. Shen King discovers the barrier exists because this mandatory quest prevents him from leaving before it is completed. Frustrated by the restriction, Shen King realizes he should have escaped before accepting the quest. Madame Gu's daughter mocks him, explaining that he must defeat the demon Spider Queen or die inside the cave. Shen King angrily warns her that if he dies, she will never escape from this place either. Gu Linger promises to reward her rescuer with her most treasured possession, but she is also willing to wait for another hero if necessary. Shen King remembers that Gu Linger's treasure chest can produce legendary equipment and powerful skills. With renewed confidence, Shen King declares that he is the great hero she has been waiting for. Suddenly, countless small spiders crawl across the webbed ceiling, leaving Gu Linger terrified as they close in. Surrounded by countless spiders, Shen King notices the severed webs scattered across the ground and begins forming a plan. An idea suddenly strikes him, and he confidently prepares his weapon. Shen King tears several loose strands of spider silk from the ground. He tightly winds the strong silk around the head of an arrow, completing his unusual setup. The protagonist is caught off guard as he hears a desperate plea for help from someone calling him Big Brother. A woman in a white dress appears, taking damage from spiders crawling over her as her health bar drops. The protagonist finds the situation tiresome as he uses his skills to blow away the spiders surrounding the woman. A terrifying, multi-limbed spider monster suddenly descends from above, launching a swift attack toward the protagonist. The protagonist leaps into the air with the girl in his arms, narrowly avoiding the spider monster as he tells her to hold on tight. He makes a swift landing on a large rock to evade the massive web-covered walls of the lair. The protagonist realizes he is in a hell-level difficulty situation, struggling to dodge the relentless swarm of spiders while also protecting the girl from the demon Spider Queen. He continues to nimbly navigate the treacherous web-covered environment, jumping from one point to another to stay out of harm's way. The girl on his back seems to be having a great time, shouting that the situation is thrilling while the protagonist keeps his cool. He continues to dash across the cavern walls, using his gear to spark against the surface as he maneuvers through the dangerous territory. The demon Spider Queen unleashes a barrage of sharp, glowing projectiles, firing them relentlessly across the chamber. The protagonist skillfully deflects the incoming magical attacks with his weapon, creating bright bursts of impact as he stays on the move. The protagonist leaps through the air, drawing his bow to unleash a powerful, flaming arrow at his enemy. With a determined look on his face, the protagonist shouts for his attack to let it burn as he releases the shot. The fiery arrow streaks through the dark cavern, leaving a trail of blaze in its wake as it hunts down the target. The demon Spider Queen looks up in sudden shock as the intense flames descend upon her, catching her completely off guard. The flaming arrow strikes its target, erupting into a massive explosion of fire. A raging wall of flames engulfs the area, incinerating the swarm of spiders as they let out shrill cries. The demon Spider Queen stands trapped and stunned amidst the inferno, caught in the devastating blaze. The protagonist watches the scene unfold with a confident, satisfied smirk on his face. The girl cheers for the protagonist, shouting that he is way too cool for pulling off such an impressive attack. The demon Spider Queen manages to break through the flames, leaping out of the fire as she retreats. The monster fires a sticky web strand upward, anchoring itself to the ceiling to escape the heat below. The protagonist watches in surprise as the Spider Queen successfully ascends, hanging high above the raging fire. The protagonist taunts the escaping monster, asking if it is really trying to leave before launching himself into the air to pursue it. He deftly slices through the web strand the Spider Queen is using, causing the creature to plummet back toward the ground. Determined to finish the fight, the protagonist descends with a powerful punch prepared, shouting for the monster to get ready. The monster raises its sharp claw to defend against the incoming strike as the battle reaches a brutal, high-impact climax. The protagonist strikes the demon Spider Queen from above, shouting for the monster to get down as he crashes into her with full force. The impact registers on their combat interface, showing the protagonist with 1650 health remaining, while the demon spider queen's health drops to 963. The protagonist continues his relentless assault, landing a powerful blow directly onto the spider queen amidst the surrounding flames. Standing tall within the fiery wreckage of the battle, the protagonist remains focused and ready to finish the fight. The demon spider queen lets out a piercing cry while being consumed by the intense flames. The protagonist retorts, telling the monster to stop its screeching and challenging it to see who will be roasted better in this inferno. The two combatants lock limbs in a fierce, high-tension clash, with the protagonist gripping the monster's arm tightly. Gritting his teeth with intense determination, the protagonist prepares to unleash his next powerful move to end the confrontation. The two fighters remain locked in a brutal struggle, with their limbs clashing against each other amidst the chaos. The demon spider queen lets out a mocking, distorted laugh while the flames continue to rage around them. Visibly frustrated and annoyed, the protagonist demands to know what the monster is laughing at. Without waiting for an answer, he delivers a heavy, powerful headbutt directly to the demon spider queen, shaking the monster with the force of the blow. The demon spider queen appears dazed and disoriented after taking the heavy headbutt. The protagonist pushes the monster away, breaking their close-quarters struggle as flames continue to surround them. Seizing the moment, the protagonist raises his weapon, gathering crackling electrical energy above his head to unleash a devastating finishing blow. He brings his weapon down with immense force, striking the creature directly and ending the battle. The fierce combat continues as sparks fly from the intense collision between the protagonist and his monstrous opponent. The girl looks on in shock, wondering what kind of person the protagonist is for fighting the demon spider queen in close quarters while surrounded by a sea of flames. The protagonist remains within the fire, his combat interface warning him that he is in a dangerous burning state with 850 health remaining. The demon spider queen, engulfed in the raging fire, watches on as her health bar drops to a critical 223 points. The demon spider queen suddenly shoots a stream of thick webbing directly from her mouth. The protagonist is caught off guard as the rapidly moving web coils tightly around his entire body. He struggles to break free, grunting in frustration while completely bound by the monster's sticky silk. Unable to maintain his balance, the protagonist topples over and hits the ground while still trapped within the burning lair. The protagonist lets out a loud cry as he lies on the ground, surrounded by the raging flames. He is completely wrapped in webbing, struggling helplessly as the fire continues to burn intensely around him. The demon spider queen towers over him, screeching triumphantly amidst the blazing fire. The girl watches the scene with a worried expression, noting that things are not going as planned. The protagonist's armored hand suddenly reaches out from within the flames, firmly grabbing onto the spider monster. The demon spider queen is visibly shocked as the protagonist intercepts it right in the middle of the raging inferno. The protagonist confidently tells the monster that he knew it had a trick up its sleeve, but luckily the fire burned away the webs that had him tangled. His status window shows his health is currently at 426. The girl watches in relief, calling out to the protagonist and expressing how glad she is that he is all right. The demon spider queen struggles in vain as she is completely engulfed by the intense, roaring flames. The protagonist prepares a final strike with his weapon, coldly remarking that this is just the end for the monster. He delivers a finishing blow, causing the demon spider queen to dissipate into particles as her health bar hits 0. A notification appears confirming that he has successfully killed the demon spider queen. His level has increased to 12, and his health is at 360, while the protagonist looks on with a calm expression amidst the fading flames. The protagonist leaps away from the fading fire, landing safely on the rocky ground. The young girl approaches him cautiously, asking if he is all right after the intense battle. As he cools down, a notification confirms that his burning state has been removed, though his health has dropped to 144. The protagonist sighs with relief, wiping sweat from his face as he comments on how that fight really pushed him to his limits. The girl looks at the protagonist in total amazement, hardly able to believe that he actually managed to defeat the monster. The protagonist confidently brushes it off, patting her head and declaring that it is only natural for a hero like him to win. The girl blushes shyly at the unexpected gesture from the protagonist. A glorious, glowing treasure chest appears nearby, filled with shimmering gold and valuable loot from their hard-earned victory. The protagonist looks on with anticipation, hoping that the treasure chest will drop something valuable this time. He activates his collection skill, commanding the system to store all the loot he just found. Magical blue light envelops the area as he sweeps up the scattered coins and crystals, while a notification pops up confirming he has gained silver and gold coins, upgraded his bow to silver grade, and acquired crystal coins through passive evolution. Overjoyed by his sudden fortune, the protagonist exclaims that he is rich, reflecting on how he used to spend an entire month grinding for just 10 gold coins in his past life, whereas he managed to earn even more in a single day. The girl is confused and asks the protagonist what he means when he mentions a previous life. Flustered, the protagonist quickly brushes it off with a laugh, claiming he was just talking about a game he used to play. The screen displays the stats of the new silver-grade armor-piercing bow, which requires level 10, provides a 50-point boost to attack power, a 7% critical hit rate, and a special effect that stacks to reduce an opponent's defense. Pleased with his new equipment, the protagonist remarks that he finally has a decent bow that is perfect for taking down high-defense monsters. The protagonist activates his skill to equip the new armor-piercing bow, which glows with powerful energy as he readies it. He inspects the fine steel gauntlets, noting they have evolved to silver grade, granting bonuses to attack, speed, and mana, and decides to equip them as well. The screen shows the stats for a golden greatsword, a silver grade item for warriors that provides a defense boost and a special sword aura attack. The protagonist considers the greatsword, remarking that while it looks cool, he cannot use it himself and decides to keep it as a potential gift for someone else later. The protagonist discovers a silver grade amulet of life, which boosts defense and provides passive health and mana regeneration, noting that it is a crucial item to save him from needing potions or rest. Checking his updated status screen, the protagonist is pleased to see his stats rising, remarking that he has been lucky to find so much gear he can actually use. A notification appears confirming the completion of the hidden quest to find Madame Gu's daughter, rewarding him with Gulinger's legendary treasure chest. A rare, glowing treasure chest appears, pulsating with magical energy as a reward for his successful quest. The girl tells the protagonist that she will give him the chest, adding that whatever comes out of it will depend entirely on his luck. The protagonist is visibly excited, shouting in anticipation as he prepares to open the legendary treasure chest. A brilliant beam of light shoots upward from the chest as it begins to open, drawing the attention of both the protagonist and the girl. A mysterious portal emerges from the magical light, revealing two shadowy, spectral figures standing within. The protagonist discovers the epic-grade phantom skill, which summons a ghostly warrior to fight for him for 30 seconds, inheriting 40% of his attack power and mirroring his skills. He looks on in disbelief, questioning if he is seeing the incredibly powerful effect of the new skill correctly. A detailed system window confirms the skill's capabilities, reiterating that the summoned phantom inherits all attack effects and performs skills in perfect synchronization. With a confident grin, the protagonist realizes that since the phantom imitates his every move, his overall skill damage is effectively doubled. The protagonist absorbs the epic grade skill, reflecting on its immense potential for his growth in the later stages of the game. The girl tells the protagonist not to get too excited, noting that while his luck is not bad, it is not exactly incredible either. She explains that equipment is ranked from black iron all the way up to legendary, and clarifies that her specific treasure chest is limited to yielding items of gold, epic, or legendary grades. The protagonist successfully masters the new ability, as a notification confirms that he has officially learned the phantom skill at level 1. The protagonist confidently asserts that an epic grade item is more than enough, insisting that a skill's true power depends entirely on the person wielding it. The girl rolls her eyes at his bold statement, jokingly calling him a narcissist for his high opinion of himself. The protagonist thinks to himself that with his unique evolution skill, he can eventually upgrade even epic grade items to legendary status, convinced that obtaining legendary grade gear is just a matter of time. He reveals that beyond the known tiers, there exists a mysterious and ultimate category of equipment known as the Demon God grade, which represents the true pinnacle of the game. The protagonist muses that perhaps the ability to bring game abilities into reality is the true power of Demon God grade equipment, and he resolves to find such items as soon as possible. A system notification appears, alerting him that the green scale armor and the 7-star linked arrows skill are now available for him to use. With a determined look, the protagonist commands the system to equip these new assets. Powerful glowing energy surges around his body as the new armor is successfully equipped, marking another step forward in his growth. Feeling much stronger now, the protagonist realizes his combat power has increased significantly and decides he is finally ready to challenge bosses above level 20. The scene shifts to a moonlit sand village, marking a new location for the duo to explore. The protagonist arrives at the village, where the mother is overcome with emotion and expresses her deep gratitude for his help in reuniting her with her daughter. A favorability window appears, showing that the mother's trust has increased by 30 points, bringing her total favorability to 50 out of 100 as she expresses her genuine surprise at his kindness. The protagonist notes that reaching maximum favorability with Madame Gu will unlock a hidden dungeon filled with valuable rewards, and he also plans to tackle another high-reward quest in the village. As he leaves, the daughter waves goodbye and calls out for him to come visit and play with her again soon. The protagonist hears the repeated echoes of his sister calling out to him from the real world, pulling his attention away from the game. Back in reality, his sister stands by his gaming pod, noting that he has been playing continuously for 10 hours straight. His sister insists that he must turn off the game immediately so that he can finally sit down and eat. The protagonist sighs and takes off his helmet, realizing that while leveling up in the game is important, he cannot let his sister worry about his well-being. His sister gently pushes him in his wheelchair toward the table where a meal is waiting for him. She expresses her concern, telling him that she does not want to interrupt his gaming, but he will face serious health issues if he continues to neglect his diet. The protagonist smiles and agrees to listen to his sister, promising that he will not make her worry about him anymore. A spread of bento boxes sits on the table, though the food inside appears to be heavily burnt. The protagonist stares at the charred meal with a hesitant, awkward expression as he asks his sister if she really made all of this. His sister beams with pride, explaining that she spent the entire afternoon cooking so that he could have a good, nourishing meal. The protagonist takes a bite of the food, clearly bracing himself for what he is about to taste. He is immediately overwhelmed by the flavor, gagging and crying as he exclaims that the food is far too salty. Struggling to keep his composure while chewing, he is caught off guard when his sister eagerly asks him how he likes the meal. His sister rests her head on her hand and smiles brightly, waiting expectantly for him to tell her that it is delicious. The protagonist forces himself to swallow the incredibly salty food, masking his true reaction to keep his sister happy. He puts on a brave face and tells her that the meal is absolutely delicious. His sister is thrilled by his praise and immediately offers him another spoonful of the burnt dish to try next. Sweating nervously, the protagonist agrees and forces a laugh as he prepares to eat another bite, once again claiming it is very delicious. The protagonist is struck by a sudden, intense physical reaction as the effects of the terrible meal take hold. His sister looks on in alarm, frantically asking what is wrong as he begins to cough uncontrollably. He collapses into his chair, completely overcome and unconscious, while his sister panics and begs him to wake up. The scene shifts to the closed door of Special Care Unit 05, suggesting he has been rushed to receive urgent medical attention. The protagonist finally regains consciousness, letting out a weak groan as he slowly opens his eyes. His sister is overjoyed to see him awake, tearfully asking if he is feeling any better now. He sits up with her help, dismissing his discomfort by claiming that he only has a slight headache and is likely just feeling tired. A nurse enters the room and informs Mr. Shen that they have detected he suffered from a case of mild food poisoning the previous day. The protagonist is stunned to hear that he suffered from food poisoning. His sister is devastated, lamenting that despite her best efforts to prepare a nourishing meal for him, she only ended up making him sick. Curious about the source of the illness, the protagonist asks his sister if she was the one who personally purchased the ingredients. She explains that she didn't buy them herself, revealing that the ingredients were actually sent over by someone named Tiankai. The protagonist grits his teeth in anger, silently cursing Xiao Tiankai for resorting to such a cowardly and despicable scheme to harm him. The nurse explains that while the ingredients were safe, they required very precise cooking temperatures. Failing to cook them properly would inevitably result in food poisoning. The protagonist realizes that Tiankai had clearly orchestrated this, knowing his sister's lack of cooking experience would lead to disaster while providing him with plausible deniability. Determined to protect his sister, he sternly warns Xiaodong that she must immediately throw away anything that Xiao Tiankai sends over from now on. Xiaodong tearfully nods and promises her brother that she will remember his warning. The protagonist looks on with a cold, determined expression, silently declaring that his battle against Xiao Tiankai has only just begun. Xiaodong explains that she cannot stay with him today because she has club activities to attend at her university. The protagonist smiles warmly and pats her head, telling her that he understands and encouraging her to go ahead. Xiaodong happily declares that she will buy groceries and cook for him herself once she returns later this afternoon. The protagonist nervously waves his hands, insisting that she does not need to do that and should just let the housekeeper handle it so she can focus on her own things. With a cheerful wave, Xiaodong heads out the door, reminding her brother not to spend all his time addicted to the game. The protagonist calls out that he understands and knows what to do, watching his sister leave with a smile. The nurse remains in the room as the protagonist sits thoughtfully on his hospital bed. The protagonist realizes he must convince his sister to start playing the game immediately, fearing that they will be left behind once the secret about bringing game abilities into reality becomes common knowledge. The nurse eyes the protagonist, recalling his prestigious past as the wealthy and handsome general manager of the Sunrise Group's commerce department. She muses that despite his current disability, she could still enjoy a future of wealth and glory if she manages to get close to him. The nurse approaches the protagonist, catching him off guard as she calls out his name. She tries to charm him, offering to do anything he needs to help maintain his health. Unfazed, the protagonist quickly makes a request, asking her to take him to his gaming pod instead of indulging her advances. The nurse is left completely shocked and frustrated, wondering in disbelief how he could possibly prefer a video game over her attention. The gaming pod stands ready as the protagonist prepares to dive back into the virtual world. He sits down inside and puts on his headset, getting into position to initiate the connection. The system initiates the process, showing the interface as it begins logging the protagonist into the game. With a flash of energy, his character materializes back into the game world, fully geared up and ready for action. The protagonist arrives in a bustling village, noting that there are significantly more players around than when he was here previously. A system notification pops up, informing him that the total number of players in the game has already reached 300,000. He reflects on how the release of affordable VR headsets alongside the expensive gaming pods will cause the player base to explode to over 100 million within a month, forcing him to accelerate his leveling progress. Determined to stay ahead of the competition, the protagonist commands the system to open his status bar. The protagonist reviews his character's equipment loadout, which now includes the powerful bow, armor, gauntlets, and the newly acquired amulet. He plans to head to Sand Village to accept the Village Guardian quest and fight level 20 sandworms, but he decides he needs to acquire a specific piece of special equipment first. The protagonist walks through the crowded village path, moving past various other players as he makes his way toward his destination. He arrives at the local shop, stepping inside to search for the special item he needs for his upcoming journey. The protagonist enters the shop and approaches the counter to speak with the merchant. The merchant, wearing a monocle and sporting a mustache, greets the protagonist and politely asks what he is looking for today. The protagonist scans the shop with a discerning look, carefully searching for the specific item he needs. A variety of different helmets and armor pieces are displayed neatly on the shop wall, waiting for a potential buyer. The protagonist knows that since the server is still new, high-quality gear is extremely scarce and likely already stashed away by the shop owner. Cutting straight to the point, he tells the merchant that he is not interested in the standard stock and wants to see the shop's ultimate treasure. The merchant tries to steer him toward the regular items on display, offering a discount on whatever he chooses. Internally, the merchant is hesitant to show his hidden treasure, doubting that the protagonist has enough money to afford it. The protagonist slams his hand onto the counter, creating a sudden impact that draws the merchant's attention. He confidently places a glowing item on the table, challenging the merchant by asking what he thinks if he has this in his possession. The item is revealed to be a crystal coin, a rare currency known to significantly boost favorability with NPCs and hold a high value of 5 gold coins when sold to merchants. The merchant is immediately starstruck by the rare item, shouting that he failed to recognize the protagonist's greatness as his favorability jumps to 70 and he prepares to open the secret door. A secret wall panel slides open, revealing the entrance to a hidden room at the back of the shop. The shop owner gleefully invites the protagonist into the secret room, eager to show off his most valuable hidden treasures. Inside, rows of high-tier weapons and golden armor sets are on display, far outclassing anything sold to regular players. The merchant reveals that these exclusive items were originally intended to stay off the market for the first 30 days of the server, but since a special guest has arrived, he is willing to let him have the first pick of the entire collection. The protagonist notices something unique among the treasures that immediately piques his curiosity. he discovers a powerful piece of gear called the White Tiger Mask, which is currently on display for the high price of 6 crystal coins. Without any hesitation, he points directly at the mask and tells the merchant he has decided to buy it. Now sporting his new mask, the protagonist heads back out into the village, having spent most of his fortune and leaving him with just 1 crystal coin remaining. The protagonist adjusts his new gear, reflecting that while 6 crystal coins for a golden grade mask is a steep price, the early game benefits are worth the cost. He then activates the hidden visor mode to keep his identity concealed as he prepares to move out. The golden grade White Tiger Mask offers 15 points to defense, strength, and spirit, along with a unique active skill called Tiger Form. This ability hides his face and creates a terrifying intimidation effect against mobs and players whose levels are lower than his own. He feels much more prepared to tackle the Sandworm's secret realm, knowing that most people wouldn't even see golden grade equipment until they reach level 40. This purchase has given him a massive head start over the general player base. As he passes by, other players can't help but stare in awe, noting that his mask looks absolutely extraordinary. A nearby warrior yells at his companion, calling him an idiot for failing to realize that the protagonist is already wearing a legendary golden grade item. Another player is shocked that such high-tier gear exists this early in the server. She wonders if he is somehow using hacks, as powerful equipment like that cannot be obtained simply by spending real money. The protagonist is caught completely off guard when a massive hand suddenly reaches out and grabs him by the shoulder. A large, muscular man with a wide grin stops the protagonist, calling him brother and telling him he needs to slow down. The protagonist looks back with a sharp gaze and asks the man what he wants. The muscular man takes an interest in his gear and arrogantly suggests that he should lend it to him for a while. Backed by his companions, the man stands his ground and tries to use his size to intimidate the protagonist. The protagonist calmly removes his mask and asks for a single good reason why he should bother lending his equipment to a stranger. The lead thug flashes a sinister grin, remarking that it is good the protagonist already understands the situation he is in. His companions quickly back him up, with the hooded ninja boldly declaring that they are indeed robbing him of his gear. The thugs completely surround the protagonist in a clearing while a crowd of curious onlookers gathers to watch the confrontation unfold. Hostility grows among the spectators as someone shouts for the group to teach the suspected hacker a lesson. The protagonist reflects on how the game mirrors reality, noting that seeing others do well naturally breeds jealousy among players. The aggressive thug gives him a final ultimatum to hand over his items or be killed, warning him that the trio will send him back to the respawn point and hunt him down every single time he shows his face. Without saying a word, the protagonist activates a special ocular skill that causes his eye to glow with a purple magical circle. His ability reveals that the hooded attacker is merely a level 6 assassin, as the man stands ready with a dagger in his hand. The protagonist's skill reveals that the second thug is a level 5 archer who stands ready with his bow in hand. The leader of the group is revealed to be a level 8 warrior, emitting a menacing purple aura as he prepares for combat. He notes that reaching level 8 so quickly is impressive for an ordinary player and explains why the man is acting so arrogant. However, the protagonist remains completely unfazed, knowing that their confidence is misplaced because they have no idea just how powerful he actually is. Putting his mask back on, the protagonist confidently challenges them to give it a try while a surge of magical energy crackles around him. The archer aims his bow at the protagonist, mockingly remarking that he must have a death wish because he doesn't realize how strong their party is. The massive warrior leaps into the air, calling for his allies to charge along with him. The assassin blurs through the air, shouting a warning as he closes in for a strike. The protagonist stands his ground as the electrified assassin launches an attack from behind. The three thugs launch a coordinated assault from all sides, aiming to overwhelm the protagonist before he can react. The assassin sneers that his opponent is full of openings while preparing to deliver a swift, electrified strike. Charging forward with immense force, the warrior shouts that it is absolutely impossible for the protagonist to dodge his upcoming attack. The archer keeps his aim steady from a distance, threatening to blow his target's head off if he makes even a single move. The protagonist triggers the special ability of his new gear, activating the White Tiger Mask's visor to unleash a powerful skill known as Tiger's Roar. A massive, glowing spectral head of a golden tiger manifests behind him, radiating an overwhelming and terrifying presence. A violent shockwave erupts from the center, sending all three attackers flying backward as they scream in sheer terror. The lead warrior is blown away by the impact, sliding across the dirt with blood on his face as he reels from the force of the attack. The warrior is left trembling in fear, stuttering that the display of power he just witnessed should be impossible. Nearby, the assassin lies broken on the ground, coughing up blood from the sheer intensity of the blast. The crowd of onlookers is also affected by the roar, clutching their heads in confusion as they struggle with sudden, intense dizziness. With glowing red eyes, the protagonist stands over the fallen thug, radiating a terrifying aura of dominance. The protagonist mocks the thug's earlier threat to hunt him down, revealing his ID as Zhaoju Wanji and daring the group to try and find him whenever they please. As he walks away from the defeated trio, he coldly dismisses them, stating that taking their lives would be nothing more than a complete waste of his time. Suddenly, the bright blue sky is filled with a series of colorful, magical explosions that rain down shimmering sparkles over the village. While some onlookers wonder if the fireworks are for a celebration, others clarify that this grand display actually signals the weekly announcement of the Divine Path leaderboard. A man explains that the newly announced leaderboard is essentially a player power ranking, where appearing on the list identifies someone as a true top-tier expert. The magical scroll glows in the sky, revealing that Zhaoju Wanji has secured the first-place spot at level 12, placing him significantly ahead of the other top players. The thugs look up in absolute disbelief as they realize the man they were just threatening is actually the #1 player on the entire heavenly leaderboard. The lead warrior is left gritting his teeth in pure shock, unable to wrap his head around how someone could have already reached such an incredibly high level. The protagonist makes his way through the barren landscape as he enters the quiet sand village. He finds an old man sitting on a stone block who is calmly smoking a pipe near a building. Noticing the old man's weary expression, the protagonist asks the village chief if something is currently bothering him. The village chief looks at the newcomer with skepticism, remarking that since he is only level 12, he lacks the power to solve his current troubles, so there is simply no use in explaining the situation to him. The protagonist doesn't need to hear another word, confidently telling the chief that he is ready to accept the Guardian of Sand Village quest. This leaves the old man stunned as he wonders how a new face like him could already know about the village's hidden problems. He simply tells the chief he heard it from others, though he knows the truth is that his experience from his past life makes this quest feel like second nature. The chief explains that hateful sandworms attack the village every single night, causing massive destruction and leaving the people in a constant state of panic. The chief warns that every warrior previously hired to deal with the threat disappeared without a trace, though he acknowledges the young man's impressive bravery. Despite the protagonist's resolve, the chief remains unconvinced and suggests he return only after gaining more experience since he is still just level 12. To prove his worth, the protagonist equips his mask and asks the chief if he recognizes the true power behind this high-quality gear. The chief is completely stunned to see a legendary gold-grade white tiger mask, questioning how someone at such a low level could possibly possess such an elite item. The protagonist argues that numerical levels are meaningless compared to actual combat strength while standing firmly before the chief. The chief admits the gear is impressive but maintains that he cannot break the rules, stating the quest will only be available once the protagonist reaches level 20. He proudly declares that his position as chief is built on being a man of strict principle who does not bend the law for anyone. Knowing exactly how to handle NPCs, the protagonist pulls out his last crystal coin and offers it as a special gift to the supposedly principled man. The village chief is momentarily speechless, staring in wide-eyed disbelief at the valuable crystal coin held out before him. Clearing his throat to hide his greed, the chief quickly tucks the bribe behind his back while pretending to reconsider the situation. His principles instantly vanish as he flashes a massive toothy grin, causing his favorability toward the protagonist to surge by 50 points. The chief suddenly changes his tune, claiming he knew the young man was capable all along and officially entrusting him with the dangerous task of eliminating the sandworms. With the bribe successful, a system notification confirms that the Guardian of Sand Village quest has been officially accepted, leaving the protagonist satisfied with the result. The village chief expresses his concern and suggests that the young man find a party to help him, as fighting a group of sandworms alone is far too dangerous. The protagonist simply smiles and refuses the suggestion, making it clear that he much prefers working alone rather than joining a group. The chief reluctantly agrees but promises to send some villagers tonight to help drive the monsters away once they begin their nightly harassment. With a confident look in his eyes, the protagonist tells the chief not to bother, as he plans to head directly to the sandworm's nest and wipe them all out at once. The village chief is completely taken aback by the protagonist's bold claim and asks if the young man is just bragging. The chief explains that the sandworms tunnel deep underground where ordinary people can't reach, making it nearly impossible to find their hidden lair. The protagonist remains unfazed and asks for confirmation about the rumors of a dangerous mutated sandworm king living in those tunnels. A massive, terrifying silhouette of a monstrous creature emerges with glowing eyes, letting out a deafening roar. The village chief is shocked by the protagonist's knowledge and asks how a complete stranger could know about such specific details. The protagonist recalls that in his past life, he had to complete many small quests just to find the sandworm lair, but since he already has those memories, he has long since mastered the routes. Confident in his abilities, the protagonist looks at the chief and proposes that they make a bet regarding his success. The chief is intrigued by the sudden challenge and asks what exactly the protagonist wants to bet on. The protagonist makes a bold proposal, asking for a special reward if he successfully locates the sandworm lair and slays the king to end the village's suffering. The village chief takes the offer seriously, declaring that such a feat would make him a legendary hero and promising to agree to whatever terms the young man sets. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist holds the chief to his word and reveals his specific demand for a rare and valuable royal city pass. The chief is left in total shock, wondering how this strange newcomer could possibly know he had such a restricted item hidden away. The village chief is highly suspicious, knowing the royal city pass is a key item for the next area that players shouldn't even know about until level 25. He refuses the request, stating that while he could agree to other conditions, the pass is simply off limits. To gain the upper hand, the protagonist whispers a scandalous secret, revealing he knows the chief was the one who secretly hid Aunt Wang's lost underwear. He casually suggests that if such a shameful secret were to be made public, the old man would surely lose his prestigious position as village chief. The village chief loses his cool and denies the scandalous accusations, desperately wondering how the protagonist could have possibly uncovered his hidden secret. Confident that he has the upper hand, the protagonist finalizes the deal, demanding the royal city pass as payment once he successfully eliminates the Sandworm King. The chief reluctantly accepts the deal but gives a stern warning to the young man to never speak so recklessly about his secret again. As he heads toward his next objective, the protagonist reflects on how the royal city pass will be his ticket out of the novice area, allowing him to skip the early game struggle and advance directly into the higher tier challenges of the capital. The protagonist smirks at the thought of the challenges ahead, knowing that moving to a higher tier area means facing stronger enemies and claiming the best equipment and skill books before anyone else. He keeps his focus on the task at hand, acknowledging that he needs to successfully complete this current quest before he can move forward with his long-term plans. He makes his way through the barren, dusty canyon, following the tracks through the sand as he heads toward his destination. The protagonist finally arrives at a cave entrance blocked by large rocks, where a mysterious wind blows from the shadows within. With a surge of power, the protagonist effortlessly hoists two massive boulders high above his head. He hurls the heavy rocks aside with incredible force, clearing the path forward in a single motion. Once the obstruction is gone, he stands before a mysterious, swirling pit of sand hidden beneath the surface. The protagonist smiles, knowing he's found the true entrance to the sandworm lair. He realizes that while most people would never suspect it, this unassuming spot is actually the gateway into the monster's hidden nest. Checking his holographic interface, the protagonist notes that it is currently early afternoon. He realizes there is still plenty of time before evening and decides it would be much safer to wait and make his move under the cover of darkness. Suddenly, a glowing system panel appears before him, informing him that his unique Evolve Everything talent is finally ready for use. Thrilled by the timely update, he clenches his fist with a confident smile, knowing that this powerful ability will drastically increase his chances of securing a victory. The protagonist ponders his next move, curious about the potential hidden forms his Night King bloodline could take. Determined to power up, he commands his Night King bloodline to evolve as a dark energy begins to surge through him. To his shock, the evolution fails, and a system message informs him that every item, skill, or bloodline can only be actively evolved a single time. Feeling a bit foolish, the protagonist laughs off the mistake, wishing the system had warned him about that limitation sooner. Realizing he hasn't tried out his two new skills yet, the protagonist decides he needs to test their power before making his next move in the desert. He focuses his energy and prepares to activate his first ability, quietly calling out the name of the phantom skill. A surge of blue, translucent energy bursts from his body, quickly manifesting into a ghostly figure standing beside him. The glowing phantom stands face to face with him, serving as a perfect spectral twin that mirrors his every detail. The protagonist commands his phantom to raise its bow and take aim at a bird flying high in the desert sky. The spectral twin obediently draws its weapon, locking onto the target with pinpoint accuracy. It releases a powerful shot that streaks toward the clouds as the protagonist observes its performance. The arrow finds its mark instantly, bringing down the creature in a flurry of feathers and blood. Impressed with the clone's performance, the protagonist wonders if he can take things further by controlling its actions using only his mind. He decides to put his theory to the test, commanding the phantom to use the 7-star linked arrows skill against a distant rock on the hill. The spectral twin immediately responds, knocking a volley of 7 glowing arrows as energy swirls intensely around its bow. With a single release, the phantom fires a devastating barrage of projectiles that streak across the sky like meteors. The glowing arrows streak through the air with incredible speed, zeroing in on their target. The projectiles rain down on the rocky surface, striking with enough force to kick up dust and debris. A massive explosion of blue energy erupts upon impact, completely shattering the large rock into pieces. Looking satisfied, the protagonist notes that the skill's burst power is incredibly high. He realizes it will be highly effective whether he is facing a single powerful enemy or a whole group of monsters. He notices that his skill icon is still active, realizing that the phantom using an ability doesn't trigger a cooldown for his own skills. This opens up incredible possibilities, as perfect coordination with his spectral twin could produce devastating and unexpected results in combat. Now he faces a difficult choice between evolving his phantom or the 7-star linked arrows first, feeling conflicted because he wishes he could simply upgrade both right away. Just as he's weighing his options, a sudden thought crosses his mind, causing him to pause for a moment. The protagonist comes up with a clever plan and asks his phantom to evolve the 7-star linked arrows skill for him. The spectral clone follows his command, holding the glowing skill icon as it prepares to initiate the evolution. A blinding flash of light and a massive surge of energy erupt from the phantom's hands as the process begins. The protagonist is thrilled as a system notification appears, confirming that the evolution of the 7-star linked arrows was a complete success. The evolution screen presents a choice between 3 elemental branches: frost, lightning, and flame. He must choose carefully, as the system warns that the skill cannot be evolved a second time once a path is selected. Excited by the results, he realizes that the phantom's ability to use active evolution essentially grants him a second chance to upgrade his skills. This discovery provides him with a massive advantage that most players could only dream of. His standard arrows have successfully transitioned into magical projectiles, now carrying the potent attributes of flame, frost, and lightning for diverse combat situations. Looking ahead to the boss fight, he notes that the Sandworm King is completely immune to fire and electricity. Since only the frost attribute can damage rock-type enemies, he decides that icy power is his only path to victory. He reflects on how the frost attribute slows down enemies and can even freeze them completely. Since this serves as a powerful crowd control skill, it is an essential tool for a ranged archer to have in his arsenal. As his spectral double begins to fade away into purple fragments, the protagonist wonders if the duration for the phantom skill has already reached its limit. Making his final decision, he taps the glowing frost icon on the screen to lock in the new elemental upgrade for his arrows. The new gold grade skill is incredibly powerful, dealing true damage based on a percentage of the enemy's maximum health. It applies a slowing debuff and continuous damage while giving him the ability to freeze smaller targets for 2 seconds, all at a mana cost of 80 per shot. The protagonist is thrilled with the upgrades, noting that the skill now deals percentage true damage, continuous damage, and even includes a freezing effect. Although he realizes the cooldown is still a bit long, the sheer utility of the new buffs makes it an incredibly powerful tool. With a thoughtful look, he remembers that he still has one more evolution opportunity left to use. He decides that evolving his phantom skill is the best choice to further enhance his combat capabilities. Swirling blue energy erupts around the protagonist as he begins the process of evolving his spectral twin. The evolution results in the legendary grade dual phantom skill, which now allows him to summon 2 spectral clones instead of just 1. These phantoms last for 45 seconds, inheriting nearly half of his attack power while mirroring every skill and effect he uses in perfect synchronization. The protagonist is thrilled with the result, realizing that an increase in quantity is the perfect evolutionary path for this skill. He proudly considers himself a genius since each additional phantom provides him with even more opportunities for active evolution in the future. After waiting for a couple of minutes, the long cooldown period finally ends, and the powerful new ability is ready to be unleashed. With everything prepared, the protagonist calls out the name of his upgraded skill to summon his dual phantoms into action. The protagonist successfully summons 2 blue spectral phantoms to stand by his side. He analyzes the situation, noting that since he only used the evolution skill on 1 phantom, the newly summoned extra one should still have its ability available. To his surprise, the phantom skills are already on cooldown, contradicting the idea that they function completely independently from his own body. He begins to theorize that the summoned phantoms might inherit his exact state at the moment they appear. If his own skills are currently recharging, the phantoms will start with those same limitations, which is a crucial mechanic he needs to test later. Noticing that it is already 3:15 in the afternoon, the protagonist realizes he cannot afford to wait any longer as time is a precious resource he needs to use wisely. He plans to avoid the boss room for now and focuses on hunting smaller sandworms to gain some quick experience and level up before the main event. The protagonist begins his descent into the swirling sand pit, slowly sinking deeper as he enters the hidden depths of the monster's lair. Brilliant blue electrical energy surges across the ground, signaling the final activation of the hidden entrance as the protagonist dives into his next mission. A small, crackling portal suddenly manifests against the rugged cliffside, opening a path into the unknown. Without a moment's hesitation, the protagonist steps through the swirling blue energy to enter the secret dungeon. He emerges on the other side into a vast desert as the portal behind him begins to shrink and fade away. Looking out over the horizon, he finds himself in a desolate landscape marked by ancient, crumbling ruins under a dim sky. He spots a towering stone tablet covered in ancient inscriptions standing amidst the dusty ruins. The protagonist smiles as he looks around, noting that everything in this place feels incredibly familiar to him. He hears the sound of shifting sand and turns to see something emerging from the dunes. Several massive sandworms burst out of the ground simultaneously, completely surrounding the protagonist in a deadly trap. The protagonist lets out a confident scoff, completely unfazed by the sudden appearance of the monsters. He immediately takes off in a dead sprint, moving with incredible speed as his red cape billows in the wind. As he dashes toward the distant ruins, the sandworms tunnel through the earth right behind him, creating massive bursts of sand in their wake. He realizes he must reach the rocky terrain up ahead to have a fighting chance. He knows that staying on the loose sand would make him an easy target, and fighting the monsters in their own element would be a suicidal move. The protagonist leaps into the air as sharp, white teeth erupt from the desert sand all around him. Elite sand groundworms burst from the earth. These level 8 monsters have 1400 health and solid attack power, making them a formidable threat. He skillfully lands on a solid stone ledge, putting some distance between himself and the deadly worms. He declares that now is the time as his mask begins to glow with power. The protagonist unleashes his tiger's roar skill, sending a powerful shockwave toward the group of sandworms to stop them in their tracks. Because of his higher level, a suppression effect takes hold, leaving the monsters dazed and completely immobilized for 4 seconds. Taking advantage of the opening, he calls out to his phantoms to prepare for a synchronized strike. 2 blue spectral clones manifest instantly, taking their positions with bows drawn and ready to fire alongside him. The protagonist readies his bow and commands his team to unleash the power of the 7-star frost arrows. He and his 2 phantoms leap into action, with each one targeting a different sandworm to maximize their efficiency. The freezing projectiles fly true, striking deep into the gaping maws of the monstrous sandworms. Under the overwhelming power of the frost attack, the elite monsters are instantly shattered into pieces. The protagonist explains that the only way to effectively damage these sandworms is by striking their mouthparts the moment they leap out of the sand. Since they retreat underground if you miss, his area of effect control skill was essential for wiping out 3 of them at once. A system notification appears, informing him that he is still 22 experience points away from reaching level 13. He is pleased with the high amount of experience these monsters provide. Even though his powerful frost arrows are currently on cooldown, he refuses to let such a great opportunity for leveling up pass him by. Spotting the final sandworm, the protagonist takes his position on the high pillars and commands his phantoms to fire a synchronized volley to blow the creature to pieces. Multiple glowing arrows streak through the air, focusing their coordinated attack on the remaining sandworm as it lunges from the ground. The projectiles slam into the monster's razor-sharp teeth, dealing a heavy blow that leaves it with only 498 health points. The creature lets out a deafening shriek of agony as it reels back from the intensity of the strikes. Realizing it's outmatched, the wounded sandworm curls its body and rapidly burrows back into the desert depths. The protagonist stays focused, noting that he only needs a little bit more to reach his goal. The ancient stone tablet begins to hum as the mysterious inscriptions on its surface glow with a brilliant blue light. To summon the final boss, the protagonist must kill 8 sandworms within a strict time limit. If he fails to reach this count before time runs out, the trial resets and the monsters respawn, allowing the challenger to try again. He smiles, remembering that players eventually exploited this specific respawn rule to turn the area into a legendary leveling ground for grinding experience. The protagonist draws his bow back and fires another lethal shot toward his underground targets. His arrow tears through the massive worm with ease, ending its life in a violent spray of blood. With the 8th kill confirmed, the ancient stone monument hums with blue energy as the ritual completes. The protagonist takes a brief moment to rest while his powerful frost and phantom abilities glow with ready energy. The blue glow on the ancient stone tablet begins to fade away as the initial trial concludes. The earth shakes once again as a new wave of sandworms bursts forth from the desert floor. The protagonist decides to keep farming for more experience, immediately summoning his dual phantoms to deal with the next wave. 2 spectral clones manifest behind him, drawing their bows as they prepare to wipe out the incoming monsters. 5 hours of non-stop grinding pass, and it is now late in the evening. The protagonist has successfully reached level 17, gaining massive stat boosts across the board while his Night King bloodline continues to provide additional benefits. He is impressed with himself for jumping 5 levels in a single session. However, since the level gap between him and the sandworms has grown too large, the experience rewards are starting to dwindle, making further farming unnecessary. With his grinding session finished, the protagonist readies his bow and decides that it is finally time to head out and face the boss. He delivers one final, lethal shot to a sandworm, completely obliterating the monster's head in a violent spray of blood. The ancient stone tablet begins to hum as its mysterious inscriptions glow with a bright blue light. The earth starts to shake violently beneath the protagonist's feet as he prepares himself for what's coming next. A massive, dark pit suddenly opens up in the sand right beside the glowing monument. Without any hesitation, the protagonist leaps directly into the dark abyss to reach the heart of the lair. The protagonist realizes that his upcoming opponent will be tough to handle, but he knows he must take a risk to gain the upper hand. He remains determined to seize the initiative before his enemy has a chance to react. He makes his way down a wide set of ancient stone stairs, descending further into the heart of the ruins. The protagonist halts in front of a wall covered in strange carvings as eerie clicking sounds resonate through the dusty air. He eventually arrives at a pair of massive, ornate doors that serve as the final gateway to the inner chamber. The protagonist pushes open the massive double doors with ease, stepping into a large, dust-filled chamber. The heavy stone doors groan as they swing wide, highlighting the immense scale of the ancient entrance. A system warning suddenly flashes in front of him, alerting him that there is grave danger waiting just ahead. The protagonist smirks with confidence, noting that the dungeon is laid out exactly as he remembers from his past life. Flaming torches line the stone walls, casting a flickering light across the dim chamber. In the center of the room, a violent whirlpool of sand begins to spin as the boss prepares to emerge. The mutated Sand Ground King reveals itself, a level 20 gold grade boss boasting 6,000 health and a deadly sandstorm ability. The protagonist grins with excitement, eager to finally face off against the massive desert crab. The massive, crystal-encrusted monster towers over the protagonist, showing off its intimidating size. The protagonist realizes why this boss is so difficult to handle, as it possesses 6,000 health and a staggering 100 armor, combined with its 17% evasion rate. He describes the creature as nothing more than a giant meat shield. The mutated Sand Ground King lets out a thunderous roar, signaling the start of a brutal confrontation. As the monster slams its massive claw down, the protagonist leaps high into the air to narrowly avoid the devastating impact. The protagonist notes that the boss's massive size makes its movements quite slow, which gives him a significant tactical advantage. The king slams its heavy claw into the sand, creating a powerful circular shockwave that ripples through the chamber. The sudden force of the impact catches the protagonist off guard, sending him flying backward through the air. He realizes he forgot about the boss's ability to create wide-area shockwaves, noting that even with his defense, his green-scale armor shield just took a 100-point hit. The protagonist is feeling the pressure, comparing the boss's overwhelming power to trying to stop a torrent of steel with nothing but a mortal body. He quickly retaliates by drawing his bow and unleashing a barrage of energy arrows toward the giant beast. The projectiles barely manage to chip away at the monster's rocky exterior, showing just how tough its hide really is. He realizes the monster's defense is far too high, noting that his basic attacks are doing nothing more than scratching the surface. With 6,000 health points to chip away at, he fears he might actually die of exhaustion before the battle even comes to an end. The protagonist braces himself as the massive creature readies its next strike, warning that another heavy attack is on the way. The monster's claw crashes into the sand with incredible power, sending debris flying as the protagonist leaps to safety. He smirks with newfound confidence, realizing that he has finally mastered the timing and range of the boss's shockwave attacks. His relief is cut short as he looks up in pure shock, realizing he's in a much tighter spot than he initially thought.